Hey, so a couple of weeks ago, I was in Montreal and I took part in the FMC Montréal 2025 competition, which took place during my stay in Canada. And I got some nice results at the competition, which I will reconstruct in this video, namely 3 French national records in 2 rounds. So 21 flat mean in both rounds, featuring a nice 18 single during the first one. Before starting, keep in mind that every single one of the next 5 sols is optimal from all of the DRs I had, and probably can be considered human optimal even if the definition is quite vague. On the last one, I did miss some things, but we'll come back to this later. Anyway, let's get to the reconstructions. Okay, so this was the first scramble, and it was a really bad one. So it is 6 bad edges on every axis, and I mean, okay, there are 4 move EOs, but I mean, I checked 87 EOs during the attempt, and literally got to a point where I couldn't find any more 5 move EOs, yet I only had 2 usable DRs, so 24 optimal for B2, and 1 quarter turn DR, which I used to get 23. So on UD, you have 3 bad edges already on the U face, so I just did U, switch. On the other side, so after reducing to 4 bad, you have 2 bad edges already here and 2 here. So I just did L prime F2 U to solve EO in 4 moves, and I added an R move to leave DR minus 44C. And I knee traced column, so I figured I would switch back this RZP. And on the other side, so if you do U, so you do have the 44C, which is reminiscent of a 5 move trigger, but the slice is wrong. However, I noticed you could do an L to leave DR minus 2E3C in 6 moves, and I traced a pair, so I decided to switch once again. So this is the inverse scramble with UL pre-move. So if I solve back EO, I'm in a situation where I can do R to leave DR minus 2E3C. So I could actually do R prime, and then I'm in a situation where I can get some 11 move DRs like this, but they will have bad corners. So I actually did R and then just double the UF, so F2B into the trigger. So that gave me 1 quarter turn DR in 11, which I solved from normal. So if I switch back, I get this case, which like is going to require 3 quarter turns. So I can set up to 0C0 in just one move if I change the last move RZP to L prime, but I actually had to do an extension, so I did R2 here, and then F prime, and then from here I set up to the trigger with L2 D2, and then I could do so B U2 D2 F, which is HR in 19, but this is just a 4 move finish, 4 minus 1 actually, because R2 cancels with the last move of DR, giving leaf slice in 22, which unfortunately was +1 for 23. Okay, so this was the second scramble, and as opposed to the first one, this was actually a really good one. So it is a 4-6-4, and there are so 1-2 move EO, 2-3 move EOs, many 4 move EOs, even a pre-made square, even if we don't really care about this. And most importantly, one really good DR, but which was not the most immediate thing to find because it's for move EO. So I did EO on FB on inverse, and you have 4 bad edges, 2 already here, 2 here. So there is a single way to do EO in 4. So D prime or L prime F. And on RL, it leaves DR minus 2E3C with AR minus 2C1E, so potentially something really good on the other side. And when you switch, so indeed you just have one more move to set up the trigger, and then DRD gives 1 quarter turn DR in 8 moves. And as opposed to the one from the first solve, this one actually looks insane. I mean, there are like many blocks, and you can get some linear HRs in 12. So for example, something like this, which like gives some crazy edge skeleton. But like for some reason, it was like not possible to really get anything. I mean, apparently 19 is possible from one of the 12 Twitch TR. But what I actually did is, so switch to inverse. Actually, I did F prime at the end of EO, which like doesn't change anything in an HR perspective, but will give a different continuation. And so I just did 3 quarter turns, so R to regress to 4B2. And from here, there are 2 ways to set up the trigger in 3 moves. I did U2, F2, U2, and then R, B2, R to give so an HTR in 15. And from here, it's just once again 4 minus 1 finish, which this time gives me 18 and French NR single. Okay, so this is the last scramble of the first round. It looked quite nice. So it is a 4-6-8, and it has 3 Movio and 13 4 Movios. And it led to some quite nice DRs, especially like several 10 plus 3s, but nothing was really giving sub 22 for some reason. So I did an ECO on FB. So I did a F to give a different 4 bad, and then I switched. On the other side, you have 2 bad edges already on the B face and 2 here. I did D prime L B. So it is a NIS 4 Movio, and it has a double 44C, with one of them even being in JZP. So I switched. And on the other side, so the JZP is quite bad, but the non-JZP one is pretty nice. So it's just +5 move to the R. I did R prime, F2 to create this column, D2 to create this one, LU. And that gives 0C4 in 9. And I'm quite happy I was able to use this subset in a great mean, because for some reason it is usually labeled as a bad subset, but I feel like the only reason we don't really use it is because it's rare. It's definitely not a bad option on a short TR. So from here, what you usually want to do is to find a 4B2 reduction which doesn't need a parity fix on the other side. So if I do, so like R will reduce to 43. If I did something like F2R, for example, I would go through the solved hyperparity case, which would require a parity fix. So what I actually did is D2R, which now goes through the bar 1, which won't need a parity fix on the other side. So I switched. On the other side, you get this case. So I changed the last move of EO to a B prime, and then did U2 F2 R U2 R to give an HTR in 17. And from here, it's just a +4 to slice. So U2, B2, L2, F2. So that's 0C4 slice in 21. And I just needed it to +0 for the sub 21 mean. But unfortunately, it was a +1. So I got 22 and 21 flat tied French and R mean. So moving on to finals now. This is the first scramble we got. It is a 644, and it features 2-3 Movio on UD normal, one of which I used. So we have 4 bad edges, 2 already on the U face and 2 here. I did L, B prime, U, and so from here I just switched. On the other side of the EO, I noticed that L prime F leaves DR minus 44C on RL, which on the other side will have AR minus 2C1E, and also 2 pairs, so potentially something really nice. So I switched back, and on the other side, so indeed I have this case. So I did L prime F2 to create that shape on top and bottom, and then R U2 F prime to create DR, which is a 233 2E in 10. So from here, there is a +6 to HCR, so I did R, and then you can do F2 to continue for 16 to HCR, but I did an extension. So I did U2 B2 to set up to the 4B2 for a trigger, and then L, D2, B2, L prime. And so from here, this was just so 4 minus 1 to leave slice. So B2, L2, U2, F2, which cancels with the last move of RZP, giving leave slice in 20, which was +1 for 21, and which I found quite early at about 25 minutes. Okay, so this is still the same scramble, but I just want to show something promising I found very late to the attempt, but which unfortunately also gave 21. So this is still on UD normal with the same 4 bad edges, but this time we're setting that up on the D face. So I did F2, R2, B, D, and then I did a B to leave DR minus 44C on RL. From here, you do create the 2 columns, and you just have to fix the E slice. So this is not the version I initially wrote down, but this is the one which has the great stuff. So L prime, D2 to fix the E slice, R2, and then B prime. So this is 4A2 in 10. And the nice thing is that on the other side, it's already set up. So you can just do R to reduce to 1/4 turn. And when you switch back on the variation I just showed, you can just solve HCR from here. So U2, R2, F2, L prime. And then this is just a +4 to slice. So U2, L2, D2, B2, giving a 19 to slice. So like it is 2/4 turns, but there are still 2 half turns. So I figured this had great chance to give 20, but unfortunately it was +2. And I also could deduce a block efficiable 20 to slice from this variation, but it also didn't give +0. So yeah, I had to settle for 21. Okay, so now this is the inverse of the second scramble we got for finals. So it is a 6-4-6, but this one was really insane. There were 2 neat 3 movios, 17 4 movios, and lots of opportunities for really nice DRs and JZPs. So I had 21 very early on this one, but I ended up finding my final solution only at 53. So I did a Nice 4 movio on the 6 bat on UD. We have 3 bad edges already on DD face, so I did a D and switched to normal. On the normal, we have 3 bad edges already here and 1 here. So I did R prime, F prime, U. And so this gives a JZP on FB. And on this axis, there is, so if I switch 6E, 4C. So initially, I spent a lot of time on the 10 plus 2, you can get like this. But yeah, for my final solution, I ended up switching. And on the other side, so once again on the JZP, there are many options. Like if I finish with D prime, I can do like R2, U2 to set up the 6E4C trigger. And this will give, so 2C3s in 9. I actually ended with D, with D instead. And then did R2, U2, F prime, L2B, which gives even more 2C3s in 9. But yeah, this is the one I ended up using. So from here I switched. So once on normal, if I end EO with U prime, I can just do F2 to set up to the double square case. And so here it's just going to be R, then U2 or D2. I did U2. And so from here initially I noticed that L prime B2 U2 so was giving HTR, which is like just 2 edges away from being like almost instantly sliced. But I noticed that 2 edges could be inserted during the HTR trigger. So so when I'm here, instead of doing L prime, I did L, then inserted a D2, which is just part of the insertion. And so from here, if I continue with R2, F2, D2, L, so this is now an extended HTR in 18, but this is just one more move for 19 to slice. And this time I got some nice luck and the slice was +0, giving me 19. Okay, so this is the very last scramble of the competition. And just like the one where I got 18, it is 4-6-4. It features 1-2 movio, 2-3 movios, many 4 movios, and even once again a useless premade square. But unfortunately, despite having many great DRs, I couldn't get anything to work by the hour, so I had to submit 23 last minute. So I did a 4 movio on UD, so we have 4 bad edges, 2 here, 2 here, and I set them up on the D face with U2, L2, B2, D prime, and this left instant DR minus 44C on RL. So from here, RL2, and here it doesn't really matter what I do because I ended up starting working from inverse. But yeah, this gives a set of 9 to 2C3, 6E. But yeah, when I got it, I mean, this was one of the very last CO I got, and I already had many really nice DRs. So I just immediately switched to inverse, hoping for some great nice HTRs. So on the other side, this is what you have. So I tried D2R to reduce to 4B2-4E, but I ended up doing U2L prime to reduce to 4B2-2E, and then switching. So that's what you get after setting up to the DR trigger. So from here, initially I noticed that. So B2, D2F sets up the trigger immediately. So that gives a nice HTR in 14. But I mean, I looked at it for quite a bit of time and couldn't get anything from it. So I ended up doing an extension of the DR instead. So instead of doing a double move here, I did FB, L2B, which also sets up the trigger. And from here, RB2R gives nice HTR in 15. And once again, it's not the greatest, but I noticed that. So F2, D2, F2, D2 leaves 2E2E. And if we just go back a bit, 2 moves, the edges we have to swap are like this. So I can insert a 6-2, which would give 23. So initially I just noticed this, but 23 was not what I was looking for. So I did not even write it down and didn't really care. But at some point I still had nothing. So I had to come back to this. And so I wrote down the 8-move finish on the HTR. So F2, L2, D2, L2, D2, L2, F2, D2. So yeah, for 23, and once again tied 21 flat French and Armin. But what I noticed when I had the solution written down with like 3 minutes left is that this was actually block fishable to a 22 to slice. So if I HDR with R prime instead, I can do so U2, R2, F2, D2, L2, F2, D2. So that's a 22 to 22 to slice, and it is plus 0, but like I was running very long time, so I couldn't get it by the hour, unfortunately. And then also, so coming back to on normal, the B2D2F variation of the DR, well, it turns out there was actually a 20 on it if you start working from HDR, yes, from normal. So this is actually a +7 to HDR. So you do L, and then you can just set up with so F2, U2 to the 4B240 trigger. And just like I did on the last sol, we're going to do an extension of the HDR. So L, D2 here, and then if we just continue with HDR, so it's R2, B2, D2, R, that's 18 to HDR, but it has a 2-move finish for 20. But I mean, yeah, that was like a lot to check, so yeah, I did not find that, and like, okay, that's fine. So thanks for watching, I guess.